Welcome to a football show, Thursday edition. Nick Suss of the Tennessean. I am Braden Gall, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. We will have an announcement for you guys coming up in just a second. We're going to preview all of the Indianapolis Colts and Tennessee Titans games, sure to be filled with interceptions. The two teams leading the NFL in interceptions. So we will discuss all things Colts and Titans on the show today. We'll look ahead at some of the SEC games. You got, I know, near and dear to your heart, Ole Miss and LSU in Baton Rouge. That's one you've been a part of. So we will discuss some of the things that are going on. Tennessee trying to get off the mat against Florida. Alabama responding. Vanderbilt trying to go to Kentucky and win. What world are we in right now? But we're going to do a lot of previewing today. We are not technically live, so those of you in the comment section, we love you. We thank you for watching us live at 9 a.m., but I am on forced family vacation, a.k.a. Metro School's fall break. And technically, Nick, I will be taking my two daughters and wife to Nissan Stadium on Saturday. In fact, when you're listening to this, I might already be there in Knoxville. So.
What does technically mean in this case? Not metaphysically?
Did I say that about going to the game? Is that what I said?
Yeah. Technically going to be at Nissan Stadium.
Yeah. It's my daughter's birthday, and she's off from school, so it's been a week already. And so we'll be there on Saturday. You probably already listened to this, so we're en route right now to Knoxville. But Florida, the demons are swirling around Neyland Stadium after the way Tennessee played last week. So we'll see. And always a nervous time to be a Vols fan when the Florida Gators are on the field with your team. So there you go. All right, so lots of stuff to do today on the show. Sinkers Beverages, of course. If you are watching the Titans and Colts game this weekend or college football this Saturday, make sure you search Uber Eats for Sinkers Beverages and have the booze delivered directly to your house. Nick, I want you to do the tagline here. Let's see if you can do it.
Okay.
They drive so you can drink. Try it.
Okay. They think so. They drive so you can drink.
Well done. Yeah. Wordsmith, folks. That's what you pay for at the Tennessean. Tennessean.com. Go sign up for good journalism. Sinkers Beverages, folks. Listen, allocations. They got special drops on bourbon every Friday, every couple Fridays, but you don't know when it's going to happen, so you have to sign up for the in crowd. They'll send you an email and say, "Look, we got really cool shit on the shelves right now. Come over and get some." That's what they tell you to do, but only if you're part of the in crowd. So sign up for their rewards program. Serving East Tennessee, serving East Nashville. That'd be a big liquor store footprint. Serving East Nashville for almost 40 years. 3-time liquor store of the year. 3-time defending champion, as voted on by you, the Nashvillians. Sister Store Bluegrass Beverages up in Hendersonville. Make sure you check them out as well. Okay. We'll get to our announcement here in just a second, but we talked about this on Monday with Paul on a football show about Levis and the shoulder. He's obviously going to start on Sunday against the Colts. And I wanted to ask you a quick sort of narrative question, because I thought the Monday night narrative coming out of that game was sort of fair or otherwise. I don't think it's necessarily fair. Was one of the worst possible optical narratives that Will Levis could have experienced, which is interception on first drive, struggles, gets injured, gets pulled. Mason Rudolph then sort of manages the game without any big mistakes to the first win in the Brian Callahan era. Terrible look for Levis, even if he's not really guilty of much other than maybe missing a dropping defensive lineman. The other way is what I think. Like, if I'm thinking through best case scenario, it is a Colts defense that is terrible. It is Will Levis playing Superman ball with an injured shoulder where he grits and guts his way through a flu game to a victory, scoring a bunch of points against a bad defense against the division rival at home. To me, again, if they win the game like that, Nick, it's probably not all because of Will Levis. But I think what he desperately needs is a narrative game that sort of changes the way people in this city have been thinking about him and talking about him.
Yeah, I'll echo that, and I'll do you one further. I think what the Titans need more than anything else right now is a fun football game. Just one that is enjoyable to watch for 60 minutes. They've played some close games this year, but like legitimately the last fun game that Will Levis started would have been the Monday night game against the Dolphins last year. Like the week 18 game against the Jags was fun last year, but Levis wasn't in the game. Like, we're going back to week 15 or 16 of last year to actually experience a game where you're like, oh yeah, no, I like this. This is good. There have been some nail biters. There have been some tricky ones, but like this one needs to come out and justify the narrative that I spent the entire offseason peddling. I'm sure you spent the entire offseason peddling of maybe this team won't be better, but it's going to be more fun to watch. Of like, we look at that Dolphins game, they put up 31 points, 32 points, whatever it was, and it was not fun. Like, it was grinded out, grimy. You called it Iowa football. I called it Cleveland Browns football, whatever you want to call it. It was pretty much, we're going to win the game by making this not great for the experience. And they need something unlike that. They need some big plays, some fun, some enjoyment, some make it look like Will Levis can be a dude who's going to entertain you.
Well, and all the stuff we talked about last episode, you and I, on Thursday of last week, about some of the changes we wanted to see, which is lean into his strengths, go down the field. Kuharski agreed with that on Monday. And so take some shots. You know what's fun? Deep shots. They're fun.
Right.
They're fun. And this is an entertainment business. The Titans are in entertainment. That's what they do. That's what they sell to people, and they certainly need it. I think it's hilarious, by the way, that like the Cleveland Browns story arc has so quickly gone from like trash and like the Cleveland Browns trope to like interesting and dynamic and fun with Joe Flacco. and then now back to being Iowa in a matter of like 18 months. I find that to be fascinating.
And they have the most wild card of wild card quarterbacks just waiting in the wings if they want to use them. If they want some fun, they know who to turn to.
Yes, no question about it. So interesting stuff. You know, I agree. They need, I think, fun, entertaining, enjoyable. Smiling is good. It's healthy. It's good for you. And sharing that experience with other people, also a very healthy thing, science indicates. So I agree. They need a good, fun game. And I think they could get it. I really do. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I think it's going to be fun from an offensive standpoint for both teams. We'll get into a little bit more of that moving forward. Before we get to our announcement, there was some news on Tuesday. Again, we are recording this a little bit early this week, but there was some news on Tuesday. New York Jets fans, fun? Question mark?
Yeah. I don't think they've been having much fun. I'm happy they let Robert Saleh come back to New York. Like, good for him for not getting fired in London.
On a tarmac at Heathrow.
Yeah. No, they would have left him at Gatwick. They're not even giving him Heathrow.
They're at the Paddington station on the platform. Like, sorry, dude, you can't get on the train.
Have we ever gotten into my way too geeky theory of coach names?
No.
Okay.
Oh, let's do this. Come on.
This is going to be the geekiest thing I've ever done. So I have done the research on the 100 winningest coaches in NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL history. Between these 400 people, there's exactly one
400.
So top 100 in each.
Oh, in each. Okay.
Things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Between these 400 people, there is exactly one with a first name that has 3 syllables or more.
What?
Felipe Alou in baseball is the only one with a 3-syllable first name. Everybody else, 2 syllables or shorter. If we go specifically to the NFL, the longest first name by letter count to ever win a Super Bowl as a head coach is George. 7 letters. Robert Saleh should have been named Bob. Much better coach. Bob Saleh wins much more. You got to have a shorter name.
Your entire theory, because it's not 3 syllables, right?
No, but we're sitting at 6 with Robert, or 7,
and it's
6?
Not 7 letters.
No. But you got to shorten it. But here's the point that matters. Who was his offensive coordinator?
Nathaniel.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes.
Way too long. That offense was never going to work. Absolutely never going to work.
George Seifert, is that right?
George Seifert won a Super Bowl. Okay. There might be another George that has won a Super Bowl.
God, this is talk about things my brain had not thought about.
I went through this at length, and the reason that I first conceptualized this theory was when the Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett. I was stewing. I'm like, go by Nate. Go by Nathan.
Yeah, Bob. You're suggesting if he had gone by Bob Saleh, he'd be a winning, successful coach, maybe even a Super Bowl champion. I'm
saying that William Belichick doesn't win nearly as many games as Bill.
Ironically, Felipe has fewer letters than George.
Yes, Felipe, shorter name, but it's the only 3-syllable name.
That is bonkers, by the way, that you looked at 400 different coaches in 4 different sports and realized that 1 out of 400 had a 3-syllable first name. That is legitimately bonkers. Now here's the question. No. How does that overlay with all names? Like, there's no way that all, like, so you have to overlay it to add context, right? You have to overlay.
Oh, sure.
The ratio, which is what, 0.25% chance that you can that you can be a top 100 coach if you have a 3-syllable name. I'd like to then know how many total human names have
you want to
3
just play the
syllables
name
or more.
game? Let's throw out some names with 3 syllables. Anthony has 3 syllables. There's never been a great coach named Anthony. There's been a Tony, a couple of good Tonys.
Yeah, okay.
Never been an Anthony.
Tony Vitello, baby.
They're all Christophers. They're Chris. Okay. It's not Christopher.
All right.
Like, it's shortened names. It's the same way that if you look at the history of NFL quarterbacks, before Patrick Mahomes, any great quarterback who had a name that could be nicknamed went by the nickname. Like, it wasn't Daniel Marino or Daniel Fouts. It wasn't Joseph Montana or Stephen Young. Like, everybody shortens the name. And so, like, Mitchell Trubisky, when he was drafted, I'm like, if this dude doesn't go by Mitch, he's screwed.
I'm so glad you exist.
And for what it's worth, you say it's impressive that I looked at 400. I also looked at college football, college basketball, college baseball, and the EPL. It doesn't stand up to scrutiny.
They didn't fit into your narrative.
It is specifically Big 4 pro names.
I'm shocked that hockey doesn't have a lot of dudes. Like, with just the amount of international names and crazy names in hockey. I'm shocked.
But you're forgetting there's like 11 hockey coaches ever. Like, they just keep switching jobs.
That's impressive. Oh my God, this is great. This is why I like having you on the show, man. Everybody go read Nick at the Tennessee.
If you search my name on Twitter plus Nathaniel Hackett, you will find years and years of me tweeting about this specific theory.
I love that. That's
the longest name. Jonathan Gannon, I believe, has the longest name of coaches left in the NFL. I believe he is the only 3-syllable guy. So if you want to fade the Arizona Cardinals specifically because I tell you to, he doesn't go by John or Johnny. He won't win a Super Bowl.
It's science.
It's that simple.
It's science. It's science. It's proven. It's not even a theory. It's law. It's law now. Okay.
So we talked about the Jets. Good show.
I don't know where to go. No, what I feel like is, like, I imagine a guy who gets fired and beats your team, probably not a good feeling.
No,
is what I'm guessing.
Probably not.
Probably not a good feeling. So, Titans fans, sorry to pile on, but hopefully that was an entertaining pile on, and you enjoyed that reprieve from Titans Colts talk. All right, let's make a quick announcement here, and I'm gonna have to do a wardrobe change on the show, which I think is the first ever. And I'm keeping my shirt on, so stop yelling. All right, here's what we're gonna do though. I'm gonna take this headset. I got to take off to change hats. Okay, so here we go. Are we ready?
While he's gone, I'm gonna say something and make it seem like he doesn't know what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay. So if you are watching on YouTube or if you are watching on Twitter or Facebook, you can see that my hat says Shotgun Willie's Real Texas Barbecue. Welcome to the show, Shotgun Willie's. Only 9 or 10 miles or minutes from Nissan Stadium, just up Briley Park, just on the top of Briley Parkway and Gallatin Pike, right up there at the top of Ellington. You can get there from downtown in less than 10 minutes or right after Nissan Stadium, or for lunch. They're open Wednesdays to Sunday until the barbecue is gone, starting at 11 a.m. They're one of those joints, Nick, where they don't have times it's just until the food is gone, because that's how good it is, because you can't save barbecue until the nighttime or until the next day. You got to eat it right when you cook it. And Pitmaster Bill, good friend of the pod. And here's what I think is going to be fascinating and fun and exciting about this partnership. Not only it's the best brisket in the city, full stop, best brisket in the city. I don't know if you know this, Nick, but we're in Tennessee.
Sure.
We are not in Texas.
Correct.
So we need someone from Texas who's been smoking meats in Texas for 30 years to come to Nashville and cook cow the right way. and so Pitmaster Bill is the guy. Absolutely the best brisket in town. But here's the thing. He is a lost, absolutely wandering in the desert football fan. I love this about him. I've known him for a long time, but here's what I love about him. He wants his barbecue joint to be known as the official barbecue of the Houston Oilers.
See, before you even said that, I was going to make that joke. I was truly going to make that joke, and it's real. It's not a joke. That's true.
He grew up with Haywood Jeffries and Ernest Givens and Warren Moon and Earl Campbell, and he loved the Houston Oilers. And then they left and came here, and he hated Bud Adams, as all good Houstonians do. But then he moved here, and he doesn't identify as a Texans fan, and he certainly doesn't identify as a Titans fan, but he loves Houston football, and he loves Nashville and Houston. He's wandering in the NFL desert. He has no place. So you know what he does? He smokes meats for all of you guys. So that's what he does. The official. Welcome to the show, Shotgun Willie's. Just a couple minutes from Nissan Stadium in downtown Nashville. Best brisket in town. The official barbecue of the Houston Oilers.
Wear your white shoes, but don't be afraid to get sauce on them.
There you go. I like that. They got moist towelettes for that. You know, you gotta have a moist towelette at a barbecue joint. The cornbread, by the way, this is totally a side note. The cornbread is extraordinary, and if you have good, like not dried out but moist, delicious cornbread and good sides, I already trust what you're doing with the meat. You know what I mean?
What's the? Forgive me for not having been. What's the? You just get in a styrofoam container situation?
No. So you walk in. So they've got a brand new. Thank you for asking, Nick. They just opened their brand new location, which is again Briley Parkway, Gallatin Pike, right there at the beginning of Madison by Eastside Bowl. They used to be down in Inglewood, and they were too small. They outgrew the space, so they went to the big space. So now you walk in. You got the menu right there. You step to the line, and Pitmaster Bill will be standing there waiting to cut the food for you. So you pick what you want. I would go with the ribs or the brisket. That's just my choice. That's what I would say. And they put it on you got a plate, I think. You got a tray, and they give you a couple options of sides. You get pickles and pickled onions to go with your food. They got the whole line there. You kind of go down the line. You pick out your side items. You get to the end, and you're good to go. So it's not styrofoam cup per se. It's like elevated backyard barbecue. Is that the right?
I'll take that. Elevated backyard barbecue was my try at a garage band when I was in high school, and it didn't quite work out.
Add it to your band list is what you can do. What's great about them too, and this is all his. Like he walks and talks the community that he lives in. He supports the people in the community. He's a big believer in sort of all of us working together, supporting local business, etc. It's why he and I have known each other for a while. They do great work, and he's a huge sports fan in the town. We'll not talk about his favorite baseball team that got beat by his former manager in the playoffs. We're not going to talk about them. But he basically says, look, I want you to feel like this is like my house. You're coming to my house for lunch, and I need you to pay a couple bucks for like the really good food that I'm making. But otherwise, I want you to come to the house and eat lunch at my place. That's how he views it. And to me, that's what neighborhoods are all about. And that's what community's all about. It's what Nashville's all about. So there you go, folks. Shotgun Willie's, best brisket in the city. Go check them out. Welcome to the show, Shotgun Willie's. Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson? Go.
As in who's going to play, or who would I prefer to watch play?
Break down what will happen if either plays.
I think that if Flacco plays, you're going to see a very vertical-based offense. You're going to see an offense that depends a lot on all or nothing mentality, especially if Jonathan Taylor's not ready. I think that there is going to be a heavy reliance on some of these slot receivers going through the middle, trying to split the safeties type stuff. Flacco still has an arm for, what is he, 39, 38 years old?
Old. He's old.
He can still sling it. So I expect that. If it's Anthony Richardson, I still expect the offense to be the entire plane built out of deep shots, but obviously you have much more of an element of using his legs, trying to keep the short game off balance by making the linebackers stay a little bit more at home, stay a little bit more contained. Either way, we're going to see the test of these Titans safeties in such an opposite way than what the Dolphins did. If the Dolphins' entire strategy was let's get sideline to sideline and beat them to the edge, and the Colts' entire strategy is, no, we're running straight to the end zone every play, it's going to be interesting to see if Amani Hooker and Quandre Diggs et al. Can contain it, especially with the different kind of receiver dynamics the Colts have. Michael Pittman is a much different animal, size-wise and physicality-wise than some of the top receivers the Titans have had to face this year. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that either way, the Titans defense is set up pretty well because of the uncertainty the Colts have on their offensive line. with so many injuries piling up there and so many guys shuffling and being replaced and being questionable. Again, we're recording this. I don't know exactly the statuses of some of these guys that have missed time, but I think that if they continue to be questionable, if they continue to be on that pitch count in practice, you're going to have a good chance that these Titans can affect the quarterback. And if it's Flacco, that's a severe mobility limitation there. And if it's Richardson, you got a guy who's played 7 NFL games, 8 NFL games. He's going to be a little jumpy.
I don't think it's crazy considering the Titans' history with backup quarterbacks as recently as their last home game. I don't think it's unreasonable to be more scared of Flacco offense than Richardson offense. It's not that Richardson isn't a far more talented player. We know all the differences, but I think the decision-making for Flacco is what makes him dangerous, and it's what makes the receivers dangerous. Pearson Downs, for all their flaws, they can make you pay down the field. Pittman is going to crush you over the middle underneath in the slot zone and everything. And who, again, to your point, we don't know how healthy they are. I don't think it's unreasonable for Titans fans to want Richardson to be the starter. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, and look, either way, if you lose to either of these guys, you're going to feel bad. This is the first time in a long time that I think the Titans, no asterisk, look like the better team. I think if you guys recall from preseason stuff of me talking, I was always unsure about this Colts roster and was having them closer to competing just because I like the coaching staff, and I still like the coaching staff. I think that's a well-coached team, but the roster is not necessarily as strong as I think it was given credit for. And I think the Titans, regardless of who's playing quarterback, that Titans defense should have an advantage over that Colts offense. But the Colts also, if you hit on 2 or 3 big plays, it's going to be hard to win a football game or to lose a football game. And so the Titans are going to need to make sure that those long shots that the Colts are so adept at can't hit.
What's fascinating to me is that the Colts are averaging 6 yards a play on defense, which is, I think, 30th, 31st in the NFL, one of the worst. Titans, of course, are number 2 in the NFL at 4.4 yards per play on defense. But the Colts are actually scoring more points than anybody in the division, defensively giving up more points than almost anybody in the division. So I don't know what type of game benefits the Titans more. That's what's interesting to me is their defense is terrible, but the offense for the Titans has not been able to sustain anything long term. We could talk about Nick Folk kicking field goals against Miami with Mason Rudolph, but that was not exactly an offensive explosion. That was we're just going to sort of wear you down, and eventually they got to 31 points somehow. If it turns into a shootout, who does it benefit? If it's a low scoring game, who does it benefit? I'm not 100% sure I know who it benefits.
No, I think that this is a game that will be more productive to think of in a controlling the speed of the game way than a high scoring, low scoring. Because whether it's high scoring or low scoring, if the Titans control the tempo of the game, I think that they are in control. If it's high scoring because the Titans are playing the way they want to, that's fine. But if it's high scoring and the Colts are playing the way they want to, I think that the Titans are going to have to play pretty reactionary. And that's when the 50-50 improvisational Will Levis stuff happens.
All right. So if we're saying the reason it's low scoring is because the Titans defense has slowed the game down and dominated on defense, that's a good thing. If it's high scoring because the Titans are dictating the pace and the tempo, that's a good thing. If it's high scoring because the Titans defense can't stop Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco, we're in trouble. And if it's low scoring because the Colts defense is dictating time, I get what you're saying. I see what you're saying. A very wordsmithy answer that if the Titans control the game, they are in control of the game. I like that. That's a very interesting way to think about it. I don't want to. I think it's going to be higher scoring. For some reason, I think this game doesn't mirror the Jacksonville Colts game from last week, but I feel like it's got some similarities to it in that the Colts defense is just so bad, and I think this is a get healthy, get right moment for Brian Callahan. They can't stop the run. They're one of the worst teams against the run in the entire league so far. And we're starting to get to the point where we can kind of look at numbers and say, all right, 160 yards a game on the ground allowed and 31st in the NFL. That's bad. Run the football with Pollard and Spears. Don't overthink it, stupid. And so I think I do have a feeling that it gets up there and that I do think the Titans defense can make a couple plays in the second half. This is also the only team that has as many interceptions as I mentioned earlier. These are the two teams leading the NFL in interceptions, and Richardson is going to throw you the ball if he's starting. Flacco is better at that, but can obviously do it. You can pressure him because he can't move. So this is fascinating. Like they're an underdog at home, but I don't like the phrase must win because like they're not facing elimination from the playoffs, right? Like my New York Mets are still, they're in must win territory.
Right.
So I think it's just as must win as a regular season game in week 6 can be, is what it feels like.
So I'm going to play a game right here. I'm pulling up the schedule for this week. I'm looking at every game that's going to be in that noon window. We've got 6 games in the noon window. Commanders, Ravens, Cardinals, Packers, Texans, Patriots, Bucks, Saints, Browns, Eagles, and Titans, Colts. Does Titans, Colts make your quad box if you're watching this?
If you're not like us in Nashville covering
like if you are just a national fan and you're like, I got to put a quad box together of 4 games.
But Bucks Packers Packers is on there. What are the other ones?
It's Cardinals Packers. Bucks Saints.
Cardinals. Those are less important. What else? Okay, Cardinals.
Commanders Ravens gets
that's absolutely on
top
there.
Left spot. That's number 1.
Yep.
Jags Bears, Cardinals Packers.
The Bears have turned into a very marketable commodity quickly because of Caleb, the defense, the weaponry. That game could be drunk also. So,
I think it's very easy to say Texans Patriots won't be competitive.
No, and honestly, the Jags do not move the needle nationally for folks.
Yeah. And Browns Eagles, I don't know if that's a hate watch territory, but it might be.
It might be market watch, like because the markets are so big.
So I think
I don't know. I think Arizona Green Bay with Murray and Love and the Packers brand, I think probably makes it. I don't know about Jacksonville, and then what was the other one? Bucks versus Saints. I'm interested in Tampa Bay because I find them to be an interesting team, but I don't know if the rest of the world thinks that.
I think that the way that those two teams are throwing the ball, they must leave in the quad box territory. But I still think that this Titans Colts game, to my point that I'm backwardsly making, I think it might be the number 4. I think that the way that we expect this game to be played, it might be keep it on and follow what's going on territory.
I appreciate your optimism. How many people in America want to watch Cleveland and Philly over Indianapolis and Tennessee? Almost all of them.
Sure, but it's going to be a worse game.
I totally agree. No, I think this has a chance to be to your original point. Like they need a fun, entertaining product. And I think you're absolutely correct. There will be chaos of some sort in this game. It's hard to see it being like the 17-14 thing. It's hard to see it being 9-6 in the third quarter the way the Dolphins game was. It's hard to see that because of how bad the defense is for Indianapolis. I think the Titans are going to score. So the question is, do they have something for all the like? And I think the Colts' weaponry is more interesting than Titans fans ever give it credit for. I think the coaching is more interesting than Titans fans ever give it credit for. It doesn't mean they're a great football team because I agree with you. I think the Titans are slightly better from a talent perspective, which is a crazy thing to say. But I agree. I think it leads to a lot of chaos. There's a lot of big play potential in the Colts offense. And I think the Titans are going to have some success on offense as well. So I think it's going to be entertaining. I don't think it draws national attention, unfortunately, even though it's a great rivalry where fans hate each other. And, I don't think it draws national attention. Sadly.
All right. So for those keeping track at home, Braden has it in the 5th spot out of 6 games. I have it in the 4th spot out of 6 games. We'll come back next week and see of these 6 games, which was the most entertaining.
Well, if you're asking me to rank my games, it is Arizona, Green Bay 1, Tennessee, Indianapolis 2, Washington, Baltimore 3. And I'm not sure I care about the rest of them. Although I find Jacksonville I find that game to be very interesting.
I think Jacksonville, Chicago is going to be a fun game.
I find that very interesting, but that's because I'm a Packers Titans person who likes watching both of those teams lose. So I'm rooting for like 10-9 in that game. Maybe a tie, maybe 9-9. Which brings us to the rest of the division, by the way, in the AFC South. And Houston at 4-1. We touched on this a little bit with Kaharski on Monday. Is there anything different in your mind first to start this conversation after one quarter of the season, not the quarter pole. That is the final quarter of the season, just so people know. I hate that. Don't write that. The quarter pole of the season is when there's a quarter left of the season. So after a quarter of the season, is there anything different? Like maybe the Colts are lower than you expected or worse than you expected. But what is the thing that stands out to you that is different than you expected about the division in general?
No.
Got it. Next question.
Yeah. I think we had this conversation during training camp at one point. You and I came into the year thinking the separation between the Titans, Jags, and Colts was pretty minuscule. I thought the Texans were the class of the division, and so far they have been. And the rest of these three teams are going to slap fight their way to seeing which team has the right to win 8 or 9 games and be a wild card contender. Now, are any of them going to step up? I don't know. The fact that we're heading into week 6 of this NFL season, and the winner of a game between the 1-3 Titans and the 2-3 Colts will get to be in second place in the AFC South, which is just, that's true. Just the way the math works out. If the Titans win, they're in second place at 2-3. So,
and the Colts will be 0-3 in the division already.
Yeah, and that's not a death certificate, obviously, but it's pretty hard to come back from 2-4 start 0-3 in the division. I don't know. I think that the Jaguars have been a different kind of bad than I thought they would be. The Titans have been a different kind of bad than I thought they would be. And the Colts have essentially been what I thought they would be. I just think that it's really fascinating. If you guys want to read this, I wrote a story on this that went up Monday on the Tennessean. So there are 96 teams that have made the playoffs as a wild card since the NFL expanded to 32 teams. Just setting the stakes. The number.
I love how you start. I love how you start every.
The number doesn't matter.
Like a piece of research.
Yeah. Well, it is a piece of research.
It's the job.
26%, so a little more than a quarter of teams that made the playoffs as a wild card came from divisions with overall losing records. So like you're talking
bad divisions.
Bad divisions with multiple playoff teams where you have 2 putrid teams at the bottom and 2 good enough teams at the top. That only happens about a quarter of the time. Okay. Most of the time, if you're making the playoffs as a wild card, you're doing it from a really good division, or at least a above average division.
That seems almost counterintuitive to some degree.
It does, but again, this stat is skewed by the fact that like if you're a wild card, that could mean that the team in your division that won the division went 15-1. Yeah. And in order for your division to be below 500, you'd need a team to go 1-15 to offset that. So like again, it's not a perfect stat, but the thing I will say, since the NFL started having 7 seeds, what was 2020, the first year of the new playoff format, 2021, whatever it was, I think 3 out of the 8 7 seeds have come from divisions with losing records. So it's much easier now. We're talking like 15% more likely, right, that you can make the division, you can make the playoffs from one of these bad divisions just by sneaking in because you get all these games against lesser opponents. And if the Titans, let's say the Titans go 4-0 against the Jags and Colts, that's a stretch, that's a reach. Like they'd have to be really good to beat those teams 4 times. It's still the NFL. But if you're 4-0 plus that win you already have in the bank against the Dolphins, that means you got to beat the Patriots. You got to beat 2 or 3 other teams and you're in contention. And so I'm not saying it's a probability, but I am saying playing in a bad division can help this team sneak in if everything works right.
So it's hard to talk stakes in the NFL in general for a regular season game, in particular this early.
Sure.
But it does feel like what you're laying out, if there is a hope for this team to even just outside chance it at a playoff spot or wild card, or even just get to, let's say, 8 wins, that probably doesn't get them in, but let's say get to 8 wins, which would be progress, huge progress.
Sure.
Not only from last year to this year, but inside the season progress. You have to beat the Colts at home in a situation where they have, again, they're 30th in the NFL in yards per play on defense. They're very good on yards per play on offense. I get that. But the Titans are 30th on yards per play offense right now at 4.3, which, we ask what's different. I expected them to be not great. I didn't expect it to be that inefficient. I didn't like this is where we go back to taking deep shots as part of leaning into what Will Levis does well, which is I expected the numbers to be better for them from a metric standpoint because of the ability to acquire chunk plays from time to time. And they haven't been able to do that. And so I think that's where this game, you should be able to do that. But none of that stuff that you're talking about is possible if you lose and go 1-4 and you fall to the Colts at home where they're maybe playing a backup quarterback. Like you can't, that is not a scenario that leads to success. If you come out this weekend and you are physical at the line of scrimmage, the defense does what Denard Wilson wants, which is roll up on corners and stop the run, and it doesn't matter who's in the backfield or who's on the offensive line. And the offense plays well and you're efficient and you win at home, even as an underdog, it changes the entire dynamic of the season because you go to Buffalo and to Detroit. We talked about this on Monday as well. It's a tough next month, but 2-2 is absolutely the goal. You beat the Colts, you beat the Patriots, you lose to the Lions and the Bills on the road. That is not only, again, progress from month 1 to month 2, and it puts you at 3-5 with a bunch of winnable division games coming up. And I agree that they're different. Like Jacksonville to me is fascinating because I find their offense to be actually legitimately interesting and scary. Because if you've got Bigsby developing into a tandem piece with ETN, Brian Thomas is having a much better season than I expected. And to have him with Kirk, Evan Ingram's coming back now, going to be back in the lineup, and Lawrence starting to figure things out a little bit. A team that's also been very good in the division with Doug Peterson at the helm, although the locker room questions are fascinating to me as well. I think the talent for Jacksonville is very intriguing. I still think they are clearly the number 2 most talented team in the division. So losing close games, that tends to level out. That tends to come back to normal, 50-50 basically. They've lost 3 one-score games. They just won one. I expect them to do more of that. I'm less interested in the Colts and more interested in the Jaguars. But I think that's where I was, to your point, like nothing's really changed. I think that's where I was in the preseason.
Yeah, no, I think we'll agree there. I'm going to put the announcer jinx on myself here real quick, but the one thing that I have in my back pocket, if you go back to May, my way too early Titans game-by-game predictions, so far those are 4-0, and I had them beating the Colts in that one. So
there you go.
Let's see if me, with absolutely no knowledge of what these teams were, can continue to luck his way into some wins. Because, I mean, if you just go back, I think it's productive to go back to May, think about who did we think these teams were going to be. Based on that, the Titans probably should beat the Colts at home.
Yep. And ultimately, we have this entire conversation without talking about Houston because they are so clearly the best team in the division. They are talent, quarterback, coaching staff, statistical metrics, offense, defense. Even with Nico Collins hurt and Joe Mixon hurt, this is still it's just they will run away with the division if they have not already. And so it's interesting that we can talk about this division and just like not even talk about the thing that could end up, winning the AFC or whatever. Like the Texans are that good. So we'll see. You want to talk a little college football here? You want to throw? I hate throwing predictions out, but why don't you throw one out for everybody for the Colts?
I think I have the Titans 24-20 or something like that. Somewhere in those range. I'm going to go. I don't ever do this, but I'm going to go wishful thinking because it's a holiday, it's a vacation, and I'm out of town right now and don't have to look at Twitter. I'm going to go like 31-27. Okay. I can see it.
Yep. 4.3 yards per play on offense, Tennessee. Do better.
And speaking of Tennessee, do better. The SEC.
Yeah. Well, exactly right. Nice segue. I appreciate you there. However, before we do that, Sinkers Beverages and Shotgun Willies. Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville, Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. For all of your liquor store needs, shop at Sinkers Beverages, serving the East Nashville community for almost 40 years. There you go. Serving the Nashville community for like 4 years. Shotgun Willies. Best brisket in town, best barbecue joint, just about 10 minutes from downtown. It's literally, I think I mapped it, it's 6 miles from Nissan Stadium. And you can shoot up, don't tell anybody, Ellington Parkway. Don't tell anybody about that road. It's a secret. But you can take that road straight up and get to, or Gallatin Pike straight up. They're right there on Briley Parkway and Ellington. It's very easy to get to them. Big old parking lot, lots of tables, beautiful venue. Shotgun Willies, everybody. Best brisket in town. Go get you some brisket. You know what you could do, because actually they work together a lot, Sinkers Beverages and Shotgun Willies. I don't know if Shotgun Willie will let you do this, but I suppose you could go to Sinkers, pick you up something cold and delicious, and then go over to Shotgun Willie's and just enjoy it there. I can't condone that. I can't condone that behavior, but they do have a patio and you can just sit outside.
I'm trying to think of the shotgun
Is that
Willie's
illegal?
equivalent. I have no idea. I'm trying to think of the shotgun Willie's equivalent of they drive so you can drink. There's got to be something better than they meet so you can eat. But let's start
That's
there.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
We'll figure out something better eventually. But that's placeholder right now.
I'm trying to think what rhymes with smoke. Like they smoke, so you can. What's the next?
You can joke, croak, bloke, cloak.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right word is there.
What rhymes with brisket?
They smoke, so you can choke. I don't know. That's not good.
Probably not good.
We don't want that.
It's the opposite of the sales pitch.
You know what else is bad? Workshopping the tagline live on the show.
Live. They're enjoying it. This is the writing process. They love it.
Fair enough. Who is the they in this? Is that the
our loyal hordes of listeners?
Yes. Thousands and thousands and thousands of you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shotgun Willie's, Sinkers
Yeah.
Beverages. Two great local businesses. Go support them. How about that? Okay. Real quickly here. What is your fondest memory of Ole Miss and LSU in general as an objective reporter / observer / college football fan? Ole Miss, LSU, what stands out when I say that game, that rivalry?
I think I've been to 5 of them, and maybe one of them was competitive. I was there during some strange years where it was either Ole Miss was crushing LSU or LSU was crushing Ole Miss. If I remember right, the Ole Miss game or the LSU game in Oxford in 21 was the first one with O being a lame duck, and that was very entertaining. Of just dude was already out and they were letting him coach out his career. That was fun. We talked about it last week, watching Keishon Boutte going 305 in one game during the COVID year. That game was happening during the SEC championship.
Oh, that's
it was one of those weird COVID games where like they were just like, I guess we have to play it for bowl seeding. Somebody's got to do it. And Ole Miss blew a pretty huge lead in that game. That was a competitive one for the fact that Matt Corral threw 4 picks and made it competitive. But he also threw for like 500 yards. That was just a fun game.
I think it's also fair to say that this is a playoff elimination game. If Ole Miss loses, nice bounce back last week against South Carolina after getting defeated by Kentucky. But if they go down, and they don't win in Baton Rouge very often, but if they go down and win in Baton Rouge, I think they're a 2-point favorite at time of taping. They are right now the more complete, better team. And if they go down there and win, I think LSU's kind of cooked from a playoff standpoint. Not that they're good enough to maybe get there. But if Ole Miss goes down and loses on the road, which is very conceivable here, LSU could absolutely – Garrett Nussmeier's played very well, and he could absolutely throw the ball around the yard. If LSU wins, I think Ole Miss might be done with the playoff. 10-2 maybe gets you in, but they still got to play Georgia. They still got – they got big games left on the schedule.
Yeah, I think that it's easy to talk about Ole Miss the way that we have since 2014, but – I think this year's Ole Miss team is more comparable to the way we were talking about Tennessee 3 weeks ago than anyone's actually giving them credit nationally. This is a team winning with defense right now. Their offense is electric, and they've got all this talent, and Trey Harris is one of the most uncoverable players in college football, and I grant you all of this. But, like, the way that they completely shut down that South Carolina attack, South Carolina had nothing. And I know we were all watching Alabama Vanderbilt at that point, and I know some of us were watching Georgia Auburn at that point. Like, this was the number 3 game on that SEC schedule in the midday Saturday. But like, if you watched any of it, Ole Miss's defense is really legit. And I'm interested to see against more of a, do we want to call what LSU does pro style against more of a traditional kind of offense?
I think Nussmeier's skills, the way he knows how to process, not to go back to Brian Callahan, but he's processing and he's accurate. Those are 2 things he does very well. And I think it's because he's the son of a coach who was coaching the NFL and at the highest levels in the SEC. So I agree. And especially, I mean, they've got 1 or 2 good receivers. They've found a nice little running back. The offensive line was supposed to be very good, but has not been as good as they expected. I think you call it a pro-style offense. I think Nussmeier makes it all go as a pro-style offense.
And so watching this Ole Miss pass rush against 2 probable first-round tackles, it's going to be fun. But I do think that because of Ole Miss's defense, I can't believe I'm giving them the edge in Tiger Stadium. But I am giving them the edge in Tiger Stadium. I think.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I'm picking Ole Miss. That's all I'm saying.
11 a.m. Alabama hosts South Carolina, 21.5 point there. Got a rebound. There's not a lot to say there. You got a rebound after getting dominated time of possession wise and at the line of scrimmage. That's the other thing about the Vanderbilt win, and could not be happier for Vanderbilt in general, and for the city. And I think it does feel like a tipping point for the program. Like we're going to look back and say, for 25 years, we've been asking this program to invest and asking this program to commit to being an SEC football program, but they needed sort of something to kind of put them over the top, and beating number 1 Alabama is what that could be. Their marketing department, the social media department, has been great capitalizing on this. Diego Pavia is a once in a 25 generation type of player for them at quarterback. They go to Kentucky this week, but not fluky at all is what is my response to Vanderbilt. They straight up lined up and beat Alabama. Alabama has to rebound in a big way. And on the other side, 6:45 at Kentucky, 2-touchdown underdog. There's a lot of games on Vanderbilt's schedule. Like, they got Auburn, they got South Carolina, they got LSU, they got Kentucky. All of those are quote unquote winnable games, but they're going to be an underdog in every one of them. They got to get another one here. They got to get another one.
I think so. Never underestimate, and this is not an original opinion. I'm sorry for repeating stuff people have probably heard. Never underestimate the value of bringing in your own dirtbag quarterback. Like, it's the SEC. Have a guy who is going to completely rile up the team, rile up the fan base. Find your own version of a Chad Kelly. Find your own Johnny Manziel.
Who's going to screen F-bombs at Alyssa Lang.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that is why Vanderbilt won. Vanderbilt won because they somehow dominated the line of scrimmage against Alabama. But, like, give credit to the we believe because this guy believes aspect of what happens with Vanderbilt right now. And Kentucky's greatest strength, I think I've said this on the show before, is dragging other teams into the mud with them.
Yep.
Vanderbilt lives in the mud. So, like, let's just see who can sling the mud better.
Ironically, I think Alyssa Lang might be the only person who tackled Diego Pavia on Saturday night.
She definitely got an angle on him, yeah.
And honestly, the Alabama thing is, and I said this, Stephen Godfrey and I talked about this on Wednesday's SEC Football Live. Make sure you go check that out. This is the first time that the Nick Saban element being removed from the program, I think, hurt them in a big way, because the whole thing that made Saban great is his ability to remove the human element from 18 to 22-year-olds and stay sort of focused on achieving at a certain level at all times, every rep, every practice, every game. And there's no way that the Georgia game did not affect them in against Vanderbilt. Frankly, it affected Georgia in the first half against Auburn. They were very slow getting out of the gate against Auburn. But it's interesting you call him the dirtbag. I think this is really interesting, because I think one of my observations from the Tennessee game is Nico needs to have more Diego Pavia to his game.
Sure.
Nico Iamaleava he at times looked unengaged in the fourth quarter. And I know that's because he's a very calm, cool, sort of collected guy. He has a very professional mindset about, like, being the anti-Will Levis, like he wants to be, like, right here at all times. He sort of understands that he's got to do all the NIL stuff, but doesn't, like, love it. He's a very, protective, like, he's got some DeAndre Hopkins to his game, right? It's just like, I'm very calculating, I'm very specific, I'm very particular, but I'm not going to fly off the handle very often. And I feel like the Tennessee needed someone to Diego Pavia the huddle a little bit in the second half of that game. So I'm curious to see what Tennessee does against Florida. We'll see. I know that most of us will be puckered up for most of that game until the final whistle. And then we'll get to Texas, Oklahoma here. But I don't know. Is that crazy to say? I need to see Nico. I don't want him to be not himself. I think that's important. Don't change who you are. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like a little bit of energy and attitude would be good, I think, for Nico.
Sure. I mean, not to make it about the Titans, but it's the Marcus Mariota, Will Levis divide of, like, there's something in the middle there. Every quarterback's got to find that middle. And Nico's young. He's 7 starts into his career.
Yeah.
Like, he's got plenty of time to rectify whatever it is he needs to improve. But also, Tennessee's issues, I mean, bigger than Nico sometimes. Like, this offense has a lot to figure out.
Yep. I do think, I think if you're trying to point blame on the Arkansas loss, I think you give credit to what I think is a underrated coaching staff around Sam Pittman. I think Bobby Petrino and Travis Williams, the two coordinators, have done a very, very good job. Frankly, the Tennessee defense, which has been their strength through the season, struggled most of that game to get stops. Like, they got stops at the end. They were kind of bend but don't break, but they gave up yards from the beginning. in that. And honestly, the play calling could have been better running the football in the second half. It's how they got the lead in the third quarter. They went away from that. It felt like Nico needed to be better. The receivers were injured. Like it was kind of all things.
Sure.
I thought the win by Arkansas, like if Pittman was a verb, like Sam Pittman, if that's a verb, I feel like that's what they did. They Pittmaned the game because it felt very sort of gutty and gritty and offensive liney, and like it's like their head coach personified in a performance, I feel like. And Florida can do some of that. I think Billy Napier can replicate some of that. I just don't know if they, on the road versus at home, Arkansas's quarterback being extremely explosive and dynamic versus Graham Mertz being Graham Mertz. I don't know if that means DJ Lagway gets more run. I don't know. Tennessee should rebound and play very well against the rival in which they are better at everything. But they were better at everything than Arkansas. So
sure.
They need to fix some things in Knoxville.
We talked about playoff elimination scenarios. Like, obviously, Ole Miss LSU is different because they're both theoretically in the hunt. Tennessee loses to Florida. That becomes a very, very different kind of elimination because the schedule's just brutal after that.
Oh, there'll be eliminations coming out both ends in Knoxville. That's what's going to happen. Tennessee is like, Nico he wasn't great against NC State. The defense was great. He wasn't great against Oklahoma, and we viewed it as a maturation process of the program. Josh Heupel doing like mature adult things to win a game. It now feels like it's a question and a concern for the offense. And so you got to work through all that. But I do trust Heupel. I trust the offensive line, and do what they did last year at times when in doubt. Run the football and play it safe. I think you can beat Florida by being mature and safe. So we shall see. Texas, Oklahoma, by the way, for those that don't know in the SEC, I learned how to cuss as a 12-year-old at a Texas Oklahoma game in the dumpy old Cotton Bowl, but it's a beautiful, beautiful sight. I was there for the Stoney Clark stand, which was like a fourth down on the goal line, final play of the game. And I asked my dad, like, what does that word mean? A bunch of times during that game. And it was like sort of when I became a college football fan. And I'm not suggesting it's better than anything the SEC has. Iron Bowl, Egg Bowl, Magnolia Bowl, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, whatever. I'm not suggesting it's better, but it's as good. It's as good as anything that the SEC has. And I think SEC fans need to sort of say, look, Texas is a 14-point favorite. That's right where Oklahoma wants them to be.
Right. What's the official name? Is it Red River Showdown now?
I'm gonna call it. It's the Red River Rivalry Showdown.com. I'm gonna call it the Red River Shootout because that's what I called it as a kid, and I don't give a shit. So
yeah, I was setting you up to be a crusader against PC right here.
And again, why can Florida Gators do a chomp after they score a touchdown and Tennessee Volunteers cannot? I don't understand.
Doesn't make sense.
They're all hand gestures and they're all taunting. They're either all taunting or they're not taunting. I don't understand.
I think that
horns down.
Every team should always have some sort of taunting gesture. Let's just lean into it. It's college football.
It's a game, Nick. Yeah. We're playing a game.
I wrote this earlier this week, and I will leave it at this. This weekend, Saturday was proof of why college football fans think college football is better than the NFL, because the NFL can never do what college football did Saturday. And Sunday is proof of why NFL fans think that the NFL is better than college football, because college football can sure as hell never do what the NFL did Sunday. We're coming off of a great weekend of football, and with all of these marquee games in college and all of these, I don't know if they're going to be good, but it's probably going to be the best game I've ever seen, games in the NFL, I think we're shaping up for another great purpose of the divide. Let's watch some good football in two completely different ways.
I completely agree. It's okay that they're different. The imperfections make college football great, and the perfections make the NFL great. That's what makes them. That's what makes them different and great. And if I had not been down in Columbia, Tennessee, at a U9 soccer tournament for like 4 hours, I would have enjoyed all that NFL football on Sunday. But I didn't. I came back to watch my New York Mets lose in the bottom of the ninth. So it is what it is.
Last question, and then some plugs. Are the Titans putting the goalpost in the river on Sunday?
I don't think that's allowed. I don't think allowed.
Can you not just have like Tavondre Sweat rip it out of the ground and throw it in the river?
You know what the Titans should do is they should sell an opportunity to storm the Nissan Stadium and tear down the goalposts when the stadium is finished being used.
It's a great
at the end of the 2026 season, season finale, sell tickets to a goalpost field storming party. It's brilliant.
And then return the favor, bring it across the bridge, bring it to West End. We'll put it in the Parthenon. And
no, go the other direction.
Yeah, it's just
no. Go up to this John Siegenthaler pedestrian bridge and literally throw it over the top into the river. I'm sure no one will get hurt. I'm sure there's no liability problems at all.
Just make sure there's no ferry below, and we'll be good.
Shotgun Willie's for the best brisket in Nashville, just 9 minutes from Titan Stadium in downtown. Sinkers Beverages, serving the Nashville community for almost 40 years. Liquor Store of the Year 3 times in a row, the defending champion. Make sure you go support good local businesses. Tennessean.com for Nick's writing and work. You can get to him there and read all of his great stuff. And, of course, you can hear him right here on a football show every single Thursday at 9 a.m., normally live. Today, I'm out of town, so forced family vacation. Otherwise, check out all the other great shows across the 440 Sports Network. We got the Gold Standard covering Nashville Predators. We got a football show with Kaharski on Monday. We'll be back on Monday. We got Hot Read podcast on Tuesdays and Fridays. We got SEC Football Live with me and Godfrey on Wednesdays. We got all kinds of stuff for you. Lamestream Sports with Billy Derrick covering the Vanderbilt Commodores is out on Friday this week, so make sure you check that out. And I had a big story on lowerbroadhockey.com this week about the future of the Preds broadcasting situation. Changes are a-coming, folks. So make sure you go check that out. Subscribe, lowerbroadhockey.com. Anything you'd like to promote, Nick?
No. It's a good month for sitcoms. A lot of good shows coming out. I'll have a lot to report on.
Give me one.
Oh, gosh. I mean, all the big shows are coming back. Shrinkin's coming back. What We Do in the Shadows is coming back. Mike Schur's got a new sitcom on Netflix coming out that I'm excited for.
Okay.
Frasier's back.
What's the one with Kristen Bell on Netflix that's getting a lot of run right now?
It ends all right, or so. I haven't watched it yet. I have heard that it is.
My wife wants to watch it.
Exactly what you think it is. I will probably watch it. I'm a completionist by the end of the year. And English Teacher on FX has been very good. I've been enjoying that lately. Those are some recs.
I hear it's a commentary on like modern dating or something like that. I don't know. It seems too complicated and highbrow for us football show folks, as creatively titled as we get. A football show. That's what we are here. Okay. All right. Shrinking is great. I love it. Y'all go check it out. For Nick, I am Braden. Enjoy the weekend of football on Saturday and Sunday. We will be back Monday. Easy for me to say, with Kaharski and myself, 3:00 Central Time on Monday, live across all platforms. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will talk to you next week.